Good morning, good Sunday morning. It's Philly, and I'm here for a brunch episode, but it's not just any brunch episode. It's actually kind of a nostalgic brunch episode. So you're gonna wanna watch and wanna find out this great breakfast dish that you can serve anytime, especially with the upcoming holidays. It's a great thing to fix ahead, put in the fridge, and pop in the oven the next day. So I'm glad you joined us. If you are joining me on the stream, please make sure and let me know if you feel comfortable with that. I'd love to know who's joining and say hello. We're gonna be making a couple different things today to get ready for brunch. And my son and daughter-in-law, his wife, are going to be coming over to eat, and I've got to get going so that it's ready for them when they arrive. So one of the things that I did was I kind of split my strata in half because for the streaming purposes, I wanted you to be able to see a strata that's completely done. So actually the one I did last night and popped into the fridge, which is what I usually do, is in the oven as we speak. But I'm gonna prepare the second one just so you can see how I prepare it, but just mind you, make sure you realize that I'm doing half of the recipe right now. Everything is down below. This is a recipe that I actually got from my sister years ago. The first time I had it at her house, I absolutely loved it. And so then I started making as well. And what I love about stratas is there's so much you can do with them, and you can switch out the different cheeses or the meats or make it vegetarian. There's just lots of options, the kind of bread you use, and that way you can make it your own. So these are so versatile. So what I'm really showing you is just a technique that you can change and adapt and make your own. But I do think one of the things I like best about it is the fact that you can prepare it the night before, throw it in the fridge, and it's ready to go. However, if you want to have it the day of, you do want to give it like 1 or 2 hours for the bread to soak in all the yummy custard that you're going to be making. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my bread ready. So in the original recipe, it'd be a 9 and 11 pan, and you would be adding about 11 cups of cubed bread. So the original recipe calls for French bread, but you could really use any kind of bread. The only thing I wouldn't use is I think something too dense, because you like the airiness that helps absorb all that good custard. So I'm going to get my bread ready, and here is my pan. And what's really cool about this recipe is you just kind of really assemble it in the pan. So there's not a lot to wash. So you could grease it, or you could use a nonstick cooking spray, which is what I prefer. It's just quicker and easier. And you can see Shelby knows something good's happening because she's already sniffing, although, sweetie, there is nothing to sniff here yet. But she's hopeful, aren't you? You're hopeful. Alrighty, so my pan is ready to go. I'm just gonna start cutting. So since I'm doing half the recipe, I'm gonna be aiming for about 5.5 cups. And you know, this is another thing you can kind of play around with. I like, you want your cubes to be around the same size. They don't have to be, exact. And I'll show you the size that I like with this. One of the things that's great about a French loaf is that it just has some substance to it, so some chew to it, which really I think works well with the strata. So when I cube it, I don't know, like I want it to be kind of like that, if that makes sense. So you can always do 2 slices at a time. And this bread is going to absorb all the yumminess. And also it's a great use of stale bread, because you might just want to increase your custard a little bit if it's super stale, so that it has something to rejuvenate it, but it works great. So that way, if you have some bread left over, maybe you make just a little mini strata for you and your spouse, or if you're living alone, that would be perfect just for you even. So I'm just getting this bread cut, and then we will make our custard. Stratas, I feel like I first started hearing about them and seeing them, and they're basically like an egg casserole. I feel like it was in the early 2000s when I first started hearing about it, although I wonder, when I think about it, if maybe the reason I was hearing about it was because I was of the age, I was a young mom with little babies, and I was looking for something quick and easy that would help me kind of entertain guests if we had people staying over, that were traveling, or if I was bringing it to a brunch with my friends. So I think maybe my eyes were just open at that point because I was looking for something like this. So what I'm looking to do first is just make one layer of bread, because then we're going to be taking some of our other ingredients and putting them in before my top layer. So now I just want to get another nice layer of bread cubes. Today we're also going to be making, besides the strata, I'm going to be making a delicious, very simple salad, because I really feel like a simple green salad goes perfectly with strata. And then the other thing, because it is brunch, I think fruit always has a welcome seat at a brunch. So I'm going to be making just a little yogurt dip that you could serve alongside some fresh fruit. So I've got some berries today. And so I'm making a little vanilla yogurt dip. So I'm just going to show you, if you've never made that with Greek yogurt, or you could use any yogurt. I like the thickness of the Greek yogurt. It's just a nice accompaniment. Or you could also use the vanilla yogurt with the fruit on top of some oatmeal. Like, not oatmeal, well, you could, but I was thinking like just some granola, just to make kind of a fruit and granola bowl. So that should be good to top our strata here. The only other thing I want to do, I'm going to just put this over here, and I want to brush off some of these breadcrumbs, because I'm going to need to chop a green onion here to sprinkle on top. So the other ingredients that are going in our strata, besides the custard, I'll talk about the custard in a moment, are prosciutto, which I have here, as well as 2 cheeses. The 2 cheeses I'm going to be using today are Monterey Jack, because it really melts well, and then I want some bite, and so I have some Gruyere. So the original recipe calls for Swiss. And honestly, I couldn't remember if I used the Swiss or if I started using Gruyere. I know at one point I started using Gruyere, because I don't think, frankly, back then when I was a young mom, I don't think I realized and knew about the Gruyere at that point. So, because as we get older, we kind of learn some more about food and we get exposed to different things. So I'm going to get this green onion chopped. And or I shouldn't say chopped, I'm going to slice it. That's what I want to do with it. So I'm going to get this sliced. So I'm also, because we are having company over, I'm actually, just to make sure we have plenty to eat, because I feel like brunch should always have options and have plenty to eat, I'm going to be just pan frying up some sausage patties that I purchased. I did not make my own sausage. I was actually hoping to find some of the local sausage, because we have some great options here in the city, but did not. So it's just some breakfast sausage, and thought that'd be a nice protein to have on the side. All right, so I've got my other breadcrumbs chopped. I've got my green onions ready to go. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my cheese ready, so that once I make my custard, I can start assembling it. So I'm going to push this up a little bit and get my cheese grated. So in the recipe, it calls for, as I said, Monterey Jack and Swiss. I'm using Gruyere, and it's a 2-to-1. So 2 parts Gruyere to 1 part Monterey Jack. So since it was 2 cups to 1 cup, I'm going to half it, because I'm having the recipe, so I can show you the other half that is already cooking. So I'm looking for 1 cup of Gruyere to a 1/2 cup Monterey Jack. So I think first I'm going to use a box grater. You could use a food processor. That's a quick and easy way. But I do not like to make messes, and I know my hubs really appreciates the less messes I make. So I just use the box grater, because I feel like it's easier to clean up, even though I will say the food processor is easier, especially if you are grating a lot of cheese. That is the way to go. But you already know about my problem with food processors and getting the little lid on and put the right way. Don't even get me started on that. So again, I'm looking for here a 1/2 cup of Monterey Jack. So I'm just going to get this shredded and just eyeball it. When you're talking about recipes, especially a lot of our savory recipes, oftentimes you can eyeball things. And I know when you're first starting out as a cook, because I felt this way, I wasn't really comfortable with that. I didn't like the idea of eyeballing things. It was very precise. And you do need to be precise usually with baking. But with most, savory dishes, you don't. And so one thing I wish the younger me knew was to just be a little more relaxed about it. And I think it would help me, kind of feel almost more confident as a young cook, and realize that part of, eyeballing it helps you bring your own tastes into the picture, which is always a good thing. So I've got my Monterey Jack all set, and now I'm just gonna scoot that over so I can eyeball my Gruyere. I love Gruyere. I mean, I'm sad that it hasn't been in my life longer. I mean, it's been in my life a long time, but like I said, there was a time when I didn't even know about Gruyere, or maybe even the little bit more bite I might have been averse to, because, you know, I think sometimes when we're younger, we just have a little more sensitive palates. It is just one of my favorite cheeses now. I love any of those cheeses that have that saltiness and that nuttiness. So delicious. Now, the meat that I mentioned that I'm going to be putting in here, and you could make a vegetarian, you could add mushrooms, you could saute up, you know, any kind of veg. The only thing I would do is I would saute it, unless you're putting in maybe a green, because that would be able to cook up just fine without releasing too much liquid, because that's the main thing you have to worry about, is the liquid that they're releasing. So mostly you'd want them cooked. And of course, if you're using something hearty like kale, you definitely would want to cook that so that it would have a chance to soften. But we are adding prosciutto, which is one of my favorite, you know, cured meats to use, because it has so much flavor, and also because of the cheese, the prosciutto, and really that's it. There's going to be, we're not adding any extra salt because there's plenty of salt in this already. So let's take a peek and see how we got. Oh, that looks perfect. So my cheese is all grated. And then what we're going to do, which is kind of what strata means, it's layers. We are going to just make layers. So I've got my cheese grated. Let me just move any extras that are clinging. All right, we want all the cheese to come to the party. I'm just going to you know, gently mix the cheese just so we have a little bit of Monterey Jack going through this Gruyere. So our layers are going to go cheese, prosciutto, more breadcrumbs, cheese, and then green onions. So I'm going to take half this cheese and I'm just going to sprinkle it over top. Let me move this closer so it's easier for me to get to. Sprinkle it over top my breadcrumbs. So you can see this is just like super easy. If you didn't like prosciutto, and by the way, the amount that is down there, I never have followed if I'm using prosciutto. I actually, you know, looking at this, because I always have my prosciutto sliced very, very paper thin. I ask for it to be between paper so that then you can get it off, because it is very, very thin. I think a little goes a long way, and it is quite salty. So I do not put a half pound in one of these strata. I maybe put a quarter pound. So I know everyone is concerned about cost right now, and I am too. So it is nice to know that we would never even be thinking about getting a half pound. So if you're using another kind of meat, you know, you kind of decide, do you want it to be a more meaty casserole, or do you want it to be kind of just meat to flavor? So that is really up to you. And what's great about it is really the other ingredients we can get, you know, pretty affordably, especially if you're buying them on sale. So the meat you can judge up with your finances and what works best for you. And if you're using prosciutto, a little goes a long way. So you don't even really need the quarter pound. You could even use less than that, and that dramatically drops down the price then. So these are my lovely little thin slices of prosciutto. So I'm just going to, there's a little herb mixture there. So I'm just going to lay them on top, and I'm going to show you this in a second. Just going to lay them on top. There we go. So that would be one layer, and that would flavor it just fine. So I do have some extra prosciutto, so I'm actually going to just add a little bit more and kind of break this apart and spread it around. But you can see that a little really goes a long way. So don't scare that off with the fact that it said on there half pound, especially with prosciutto. You could definitely use way less and still get that great pop of flavor. So I've got a little left, which I'm excited about. I'll find a use for this week. By the way, one of my favorite uses with leftover prosciutto is you want to crisp it in the oven, and then you crumble it up and sprinkle it on salads. It is a great, like, meaty, salty pop to any salad. It's really delicious. Oh, welcome, Maya. I'm so glad you joined. Welcome to my live stream. And yes, I love Gruyere too. It is really one of my favorite cheeses. And of course, it's one of the, you know, renowned cheeses for on top of, I can't even think of the onion soup. Why am I'm blanking on, you know, the caramelized onion soup. Oh my goodness, it's on everyone's menus at the stores. You can see my nerves are getting to me just a little bit, but I love that onion soup that we can get with all the melty cheese and the little, you know, piece of bread that's on top, and that is the cheese that they use there. I mean, you could use others, but to me, that's all about the cheese. So I agree with you, Maya, and thank you for joining. So as I said, we have our bread crumbs, we have our cheese mixture, half of it. We put some prosciutto on top. And then next, I'm gonna put my last, let me keep it straight. Next, I'm gonna put my last layer of breadcrumbs. There we go. And just make sure to cover. And this is gonna be perfect. Perfect, love it. Okay, I'm just gonna tuck those guys in there. Then put my last bit of cheese. And then this cheese on top is going to get all nice and melty, but a little crispy, get a little brown. So as many of you know who've been watching me for a while, I do have a convection oven, and I like to cook a lot of my things in my convection oven. So I do have my convection oven up right now. So if you are using a regular oven, it would be 325 that you'd want to preheat your oven. Since I'm using convection, it's at 300 because you always go 25 degrees less. I'm not going to put my green onions on yet because I want to actually get my custard in and on. I find that, and this is the detail person in me that I need to let go of, but I'm just going to be honest. So I find that when I pour my custard over my green onions, it just scatters them in like random ways, and I don't know, I like to have it easily scattered, so I'm just going to be real. That's what I do. So I'm going to hold off on my green onions. Let me just brush off some of these breadcrumbs. Hold off on those green onions, and we are going to make our custard. Let me put this here so you can see. There we go. All right. So our custard is quite simple. It only involves eggs, milk, a little bit of white wine, dry white wine, although you could always leave that out. You don't have to add the wine if you don't want to. Dijon mustard and black pepper. Super simple. Again, we're not adding any salt. Don't be alarmed by that because we have plenty of salt with the cheese and the prosciutto. We are good. So to here, the first thing I'm going to do is add my milk, because since I'm cutting this recipe in half, since I have a half already cooking, I'm just going to be adding 1 cup of milk. So I'm going to get my milk out. Maya, we're doing the brunch thing. What is one of your favorite brunchy foods to eat? Yes, French onion soup. Thank you, Maya, for the save. So sometimes I do get a little bit nervous doing this stream. Other times I get into a zone of total calmness, but when I get nervous, I completely blank. I don't know if anyone else has that happen, but it's kind of like when you're out and about and you see someone and you're with maybe your hubs and you see someone and you know them. Like there's no reason you shouldn't know their name, and you're like, oh, I've got to introduce you, and then you blank. It's like that same thing. Okay, so I'm going to put a cup of milk in here. Take a peek. So thank you for that. French onion soup. I love French onion soup. And I apologize for absolutely blanking on it. And then we are gonna, so this is the other part that's a little bit fluid. So in the full recipe, you're gonna add 6 to 8 eggs. And the reason that there is a little discrepancy there is because you just don't know how dry your bread is, how dense your bread is. And so there's a wiggle room part, because you don't want your strata to be soppy. You want it to just be enough. So you always do the lowest amount of eggs. And then if your mixture, and we'll talk about this when I put it over, if your mixture seems dry, then you're going to add another egg or 2 and some milk, just to kind of break it up a bit and pour that over. And that just helps make sure you have a really moist strata, because the strata is a mixture of crispiness on the top, cheesy, and whatever flavorings you're having in there. And then, but you want the inside to be moist, almost like a bread pudding. And we know we don't want that to be like too moist where it's kind of gushy. So we want it to be just perfect. So anyways, we have a cup of milk here. Now I'm gonna get my eggs. So for my purposes, instead of 6 to 8 eggs, I'm going to do 3 to 4 eggs. So now I will tell you, my eggs, they did not have any large eggs at the store, so I had to get extra large. So I'm not expecting to use another egg because the eggs are bigger anyway, so there's going to be more to them. So I'm going to get them in here. and cracked. I probably should have broken these up first, but oh well, we'll make it work, right? Thank you, I appreciate that. You're very sweet, Maya. You know, it's kind of like I feel at the beginning I'm always a little anxious just because I want all the technical stuff to work out. You know, the cameras, the sound, and then we have had, you know, some glitchy issues during our stream sometimes, which is so frustrating. But I gotta tell you, and I don't know if I've mentioned this, I think I've mentioned this on stream before, is that as much as I love being an educator, and I cannot imagine ever being anything else because it is my passion, it is my calling, it's what I've always wanted to do. I love cooking, and the older I got, the more and more I loved cooking. And then when the cooking channel came to be a thing and the Food Network came to be a thing, it was like watching sports for me. Well, not for me, because I will say I've developed my love of sports through my husband and my boys. Before then, I really wasn't a big sports girl, and anyways, but cooking was everything to me. So I feel like doing these streams, if I'm going to be honest, it's just kind of like living out that little part of the dream of that. I so appreciate all the hard work that goes behind those shows. And I just think it's really cool. So live streaming it is kind of my way of just having a little taste of that in my little space. So I appreciate anyone that watches my videos or watches my streams. I'm doing this because I love it. And also, I really like to share the recipes. And as many people know, what really gave me the boost to start it was two things. One, that my son was actually live streaming. He does gaming, which of course is not my thing. And then also my grandma had all these wonderful recipes, and I wanted the opportunity to be able to share them with other people and make them immortal, make them be in a space that my kids and my kids' kids could access. And actually my whole family could access, cousins and aunts and uncles. All right, so finally I have my eggs whisked in here with just a fork to my milk mixture. And then to that, we're just adding a couple little things. It would be in the full recipe, 1/4 cup of dry white wine, since we're having it just be 1 ounce. Again, you could leave this out if you don't care to have it in there. I will say having it in there, even that little bit just gives that little bit of bite that a dry white wine gives. Of course, the wine, the alcohol cooks off, but it really adds a nice amount of flavor to it. So if you like that sort of thing, do not skip that part. And then just a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. So let me get a little blurb there. And then some black pepper. So let me get my pepper mill. Oh, there it is. Oh, a Middle Eastern brunch. That sounds amazing. A bean dish named Fool with fried eggs, pickled vegetables, and cheese. Wow, so we were just I posted about it on Twitter. By the way, if any of you joining us today do not follow me on Twitter, I really have fun on Twitter. We have some great foodies there that we all share and chat and have some fun with. And I think a couple Sundays ago, Hubs and I had gone to this place in the city, Cafe Le Mode, something like that. And they actually, it's like French Middle Eastern there, and their menu, I have to look and see if they have the full, because they have some amazing dishes there. That sounds delicious. And chocolate chip pancakes, I would never turn down chocolate chip pancakes. So our custard is done. We're not trying to whip this, by the way, we're just trying to mix it. And then what we're gonna do is we are gonna gently and carefully pour the custard all over our mixture here. And we want this to absorb in. And again, so today, because I am cooking this second half for my guests, I'm not gonna enable it to sit for even an hour, because it'll probably be maybe a half hour, maybe 20 minutes. Oh, and I need a new fork, because I shouldn't have put the fork in the sink. And we'll see how that turns out. I can actually let you all know on Twitter. So now I'm gonna push this down. Now before I add my green onions, I'm gonna do this. So what I'm looking for after I push this down is I'm gonna kind of tip it around, and I wanna make sure I see plenty of that custard there. because I want, all my bread to absorb this. So I'm just tipping it, looking for the liquid, making sure I have plenty. And then I'm just gently smushing it down because I want all that bread to absorb it. Now, you could do all this in a bowl to make sure with better absorption for sure. But this is how I've always done it. So, kind of, if it's not broke, why fix it? And it works, and it's one less thing to have to wash, which I'm always about. So I think this looks good. I think I'm comfortable with the liquid. You just don't want it to be sitting and swimming in liquid. You want to see that liquid, but you do want it to absorb up eventually. So I'm just going to move that over there. There we go. Get that one. Okay. All right. And now I'm going to sprinkle my green onions on there and just sprinkle them on top. It adds a nice color contrast. And that little bite of mild onioniness, is that a word? My husband loves that I create these words. He still claims that zhuzh is not a word, and I'm telling him, I think zhuzh is a word. When you zhuzh things up, when you make it a little fancy. So there we go. So I'm gonna let this sit. Oh, and by the way, if you are doing this overnight, make sure and you take it out of the fridge for at least a half hour to take some of that chill off before you put it in the oven. So this one's ready to go in. I gotta check my time because I wanna put this in at a certain time. Oh, that's right, I'm not putting this in until I take that one out. So this one's just gonna sit until my other one's ready, till my timer goes off, which is just gonna be a couple minutes. And then we'll do a little switcheroo, just like the Food Network, right? So the next thing we're gonna do is we are gonna get right to making our other parts of our meal. And the one thing that we're gonna be making is going to be this little, yogurt mixture for our fruit. So let me just get that out. So I have some berries. Those out. I'm going to get my yogurt out. There we go. And I have my other ingredients. So honey and vanilla. Now I have vanilla paste, so I'm going to use my vanilla paste. So that's going to make my yogurt mixture. I'm just going to put these, I'm going to put these in a pretty little bowl. Let me see here. Actually, first I want to rinse them because I do not know if these have been washed. So I want to make sure I do that. There we go. And so all I have here are a mixture of blackberries, raspberries, and blueberries. The raspberries, I will say, look a little suspect, meaning I don't know how good they will be, but the good news is the blackberries look beautiful and the blueberries look beautiful, so I feel like in the end it should be okay, because even if the raspberries are a little tart, the other ones should help out. So I'm just going to give these a quick rinse and let them drain. There we go. Oh, I lost a couple. Sorry about that, fellas. Okay, and I'm gonna put a little paper towel under there so I can drain on that. There we go. Okay, so let those drain. This is for the strata. Okay, next we're going to make the sauce, the little bit of a yogurt sauce. So I'm just going to, in a small bowl, and this is all gonna be eyeballed. So this is the Greek yogurt. I really like Faye, I think that's how it's called. I like the 2%. You could always use fat-free, or you could use the 5%, whichever you prefer, absolutely. I'm gonna get a little spoon. All right, and so I'm gonna take, I don't know, I think about half of this. I don't want a ton. I don't picture people using a ton of this, so I just really want it to be kind of an accompaniment. But again, for your purposes, use how much. So I probably have like a half cup here, and there is my strata. Now, this is the early time for my strata that I already put in, so I'm gonna check it and see how it looks. Let me take a peek. It looks good, but I'm gonna leave it in for another 5 minutes. I think it needs another 5 minutes. It smells amazing. And since I'm leaving it in for another 5 minutes, I do think I'm gonna get this one in. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this one in. So I put the other one in, but the one I originally put in, I'm gonna hold for another 5 minutes. It's starting to brown, it smells incredible. I like my top just a little bit more crispy, so that's why I'm letting that stay in. So to my yogurt, all I'm gonna add is a little bit of this vanilla, and we have vanilla paste, again, regular vanilla extract, and like really just a little bit. For a half cup, I probably have, it's probably gonna be like a quarter of a teaspoon. Just, there we go. Pastes are a little more difficult to get a little bit because they're kind of jelly-y, if that makes sense. Again, my made-up word. And then really this part's to taste. It's whatever you like. This is a great honey that we got when we were in Asheville from the Asheville Bee Charmer. So Asheville, we miss you. I'm sure your leaves are absolutely spectacular right now all along the mountains. And it was their sourwood honey, and it's really delicious. So I'm gonna put probably a half a teaspoon, 3/4 teaspoon in there. Because I don't want it too sweet. I just want to add a little bit of sweetness. Now, you know, honey, it clings to things. And since this spoon just still has a nice amount of honey clinging on it, I feel like it's my due diligence that I need to like taste it. Just to make sure it's still tasty. I mean, why would I put that in the sink, a dirty sink, when I could just help the sink and take some of that off? And then I'm just gonna mix this up. There we go. Now, you definitely could, and if it was with company that wasn't family, maybe I would mix this up in another bowl and then put it in this bowl, a new bowl, so it'd be prettier. But again, why waste dishes? It's my family who, we're pretty casual here. So there's your little mixture. I do want to taste it just to make sure it's what I want. There's just a touch of vanilla. If you prefer a stronger vanilla flavor, then use more vanilla. If you like it sweeter, then use more sweetener. To me, this is perfect. It just gives us enough. It's just enough. So that is our yogurt. The next thing we're going to do is mix our dressing for our salad greens. Let me see how we're doing on time. There we go. Let me get my berries in a pretty bowl. Now that they've settled down, let's see. I might just want to toss them just a little bit. There we go. Ooh, nice. Very nice. So there's my beautiful berries. Here's my delicious yogurt dip. So we're going to set that aside and put this away. And now we're going to make a vinaigrette. So I will say, let me get the lettuce greens out. So I just want to use spring lettuce. You could use arugula. You could really use whatever lettuce you prefer. This is going to be a light vinaigrette, but what I like about the spring lettuce is it's just so pretty. There's a variety of different leaves, and then with just a simple vinaigrette, I feel like it's visually stunning as well as tasty. And I feel like a salad is a great foil. I forgot to get my salad bowl out. I feel like a salad is a great foil to a quiche, or not a quiche. Actually, it is good for a quiche also, but to a strata. Because, sorry about that. It's a great foil to a strata because it kind of gives you that, with a richer dish, it gives you that bite of vinegar, the freshness of greens. I just think it's a great counterpart. So I think salads and egg dishes go wonderful together. So I'm gonna get my greens here. They are set to go. Looking beautiful. All right. That one doesn't look beautiful, so I'm picking that off. There we go. So my beautiful greens. And now let's make that dressing. Okay, so for our dressing, we are going to need a few different ingredients, and the link for the dressing is below, by the way. And this is from, I wrote their names because I knew I was going to forget, from Patrick and Gina Neely. So back in the day, on the Food Network, they had a show, and they were hysterical together, which we cannot be a Patrick and Gina Neely, but I really loved the vibe that they had. They were fun, they kind of were playful with each other, and they always had great food. And so this is a vinaigrette that she has, and it's found on Epicurious. And it involves extra virgin olive oil, champagne vinegar, it's a champagne vinaigrette, Dijon mustard. I'm going to use a special one. You could use plain Dijon. Hot sauce, I'm going to talk about my hot sauce in a second. You don't have to use hot sauce. It's just a tiny little bit. It's if you want. Garlic, I'm using my lovely crushed garlic. Yeah, it's like a garlic paste, which is nice, especially for salad dressings. Salt, we have our pepper, and then lemon. There we go. So we got lemon juice. So I'm gonna just make half the recipe because I don't have a huge salad. I'm gonna check on my strata that was originally already put in because I think it's ready. Let's check it out. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, it smells incredible. Let me show you. Look at that. It smells delicious. It looks delicious. And it is ready to go. But do not cut into your strata when you first take it out of the oven. It needs to sit for at least 10 minutes and kind of come together. It's like a lasagna and other dishes. Casseroles are often better if they just sit for a little bit before you go right in. So I'm going to let it sit out, hang out right there while we finish everything else. So for our dressing, while it has quite a few ingredients, it's super simple to make. The first thing we are going to put in here is our champagne vinegar. And since I am only doing, I'm not going to put a 1/4 cup in, I'm just going to put 1 ounce. So I'm going to look for that little shot glass I had, which whoever thought shot glasses would be good for salad dressings, but hey, they work because they just have 1 ounce in there. So I'm going to put 1 ounce of my champagne vinegar. You could use a regular white wine vinegar or a sherry vinegar. You don't have to use the champagne vinegar, but I do love champagne vinegar. It just has a little bit more of a sweetness to it that I really am fond of. And then to that, we're just gonna add a little bit of garlic, just a smidge. The recipe is a garlic clove, so I'm probably doing what would be considered like half of a garlic clove. And then to that, I'm just gonna add a tablespoon of Dijon. Use the other side of this fork. Get a tablespoon of that. There we go. Again, I'm having this recipe. Oh, and this Dijon is one we got at a specialty store in Philadelphia, and it is by Edmond Fallout, and it's a black currant Dijon mustard. So I thought that would be really cool in this. And there's so many cool Dijon mustards out in the market, so that's where you can kind of get fun and funky and try some different ones in your dressings. That's actually why I bought this, was for salad dressing. I mean, sure, I can use it on a sandwich, but like the salad dressing part really intrigued me. So we have our garlic, our champagne vinegar, we have our Dijon in there, and then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So I want to just eyeball this. So we're having some vinegar and some fresh lemon juice. Just squeeze this with my favorite tool. There we go. We got a little lemon seed in there, which I do not want. Let me get that guy out. Oh my goodness, those pesky lemon seeds. Even when you use that, sometimes it happens. And that looks like a tablespoon, so I'm going to pour that in. And then lastly, we're going to put, oh, I forgot what I was going to do. So remember when I licked that honey spoon, I was actually not supposed to, which is why I used the long one, because I needed that honey for this recipe. And now I need to get another spoon, but oh well, I'll have to get another spoon, and I might need to lick another honey spoon. So how bad is that? Oh, thank you so much, Maya. I know the shot glass for that 1 ounce thing is wonderful. So to our honey, we're just adding a tablespoon of honey. Use whatever honey you have. That might have been a little too much, so I'm going to lick this because I'm doing a service, right? That's some really good honey. I love a good honey. I love trying different kinds. There's a place that's just north of us where they have a cinnamon honey that we still have not gone back to, and I've been craving it in my coffee because I used it to sweeten my coffee. It made my coffee like off the charts in the morning. Love honey. So we have our tablespoon of honey. Now, in her recipe, she talks about putting a couple dashes of hot sauce. You don't have to do this. It is not, you don't want it in it so that you're like, wow, this is a really spicy dressing. You just want that like background flavor. So for this, and because of being brunch, I'm just gonna put actually 1 dash. And I have a bunch of different hot sauces, and this hot sauce I actually got down in Nashville. It's called What a Jerk hot sauce. Oh no, I don't want this one. This is a jerk hot sauce. Not that it wouldn't be good, but I was looking for my mango hot sauce. So I thought the mango would be really nice in there because it has a little sweetness. So it's called Mango and Habanero Hot Sauce. So that's the one I wanted to use. But again, you don't have to use this if you don't want. And this does not have a dropper, so I'm going to actually, I need a spoon because I'm afraid I'm gonna dump too much and I do not want to make a mistake with this. So let me just get a little spoon to make sure I just get a little dash. There we go. Perfect. Maybe 2. There we go. So I actually put 2 dashes. So I'll let you know how that goes. Oh, I love, this is my favorite because it instantly hits sweet, but then that sharp heat comes afterwards and it's delicious. And now we're going to add some salt, pepper, and our olive oil. So I've got my salt. Since it's just a 1/4 teaspoon, I'm just going to give a large pinch and put my pepper. There we go. I like a good amount of pepper in my dressing. And lastly, our olive oil. And so since we're doing it in half, it's just going to be a 1/4 cup of olive oil. And then of course we want to taste and make sure everything is balanced in how we like it. Those of you who know me know I like a vinaigrette that has some bite. So if it doesn't have enough bite, I'll be adding some more lemon juice or champagne or champagne vinegar. So, and of course I like using these little canning jars because you can just shake it up. And then you have your container to save it if you don't use it all. I always do it over a sink just to make sure. It is a gorgeous fall day here in Philly. Oh my gosh, and I haven't even talked about how exciting it has been being a Phillies fan. Now last night was it's a little tough. Those of you from Twitter probably didn't hear anything from me because it was stressful right from the get-go, and I need to focus on the game. And unfortunately they lost, but they won the first one in Houston. So they're headed back home, and tomorrow on Halloween, they are playing their first home game. So I'm super excited. Go Phillies. All right, so now let's taste this and see how it is. Let me see. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, that is so good. Okay. Oh, you know what, I need to dip a lettuce in it. So this is outstanding, and I'm so glad. So it would be good even without the hot sauce and even with just a plain old Dijon mustard. But what makes it off the charts is this unique mustard, just lends some different flavors to it. And this, you do not taste, it's not a spicy dressing, but there's just something, it kind of almost, I actually don't know what it does, but it just gives something in the background. It does some sort of like balancing act with everything. So I love that hot sauce idea. And again, you could just use regular hot sauce, but I happen to have this mango and habanero one, so I thought that would be really interesting. And as much as I like my jerk hot sauce, which I was talking about, that I don't know that I want in a dressing unless I'm really wanting to have those flavors, because that one is more than just heat. It really has some different flavors going on in there. Awesome. This dressing is wonderful. Very excited about that. So let me see how we're doing on time. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'll dress it. I'm going to close this up so I can give it a quick shake before I dress my salads. I'm about to dress my salad. Let me put this stuff back here. And I'm going to make one more thing that a well-dressed brunch table always has. And I almost didn't do this, but my hubs convinced me I should do this. And so I'm glad I did, because now that today is here, I'm like, yes, I'm glad we are doing this. So let me put these in here, clean this up, tidy this up just a little bit. So one thing that is wonderful with a brunch is a nice cocktail. Oh, I got my eggs white. Let me just tidy this up a little bit, friends. And you know me, if it's a little cocktail, I love when bubbles are involved. So you probably see where I'm going with this. And I'm keeping it classical today. Classical, not music, but classical nature. And we are going to make a mimosa, because to me, mimosas are just one of the most wonderful things. And there's a lot of, different ways you can kind of handle your mimosa. You could also use different fruits, juices, but they are delicious and they are perfect with a brunch. There's a lot of things that are perfect with brunch, but for me, a mimosa always has a place. So, and now this is something that we do splurge on here. Natalie's is a brand that makes fresh orange juice, and so we use this in our cocktails, and we use this also, we don't drink a lot of just plain orange juice, but so for a mimosa, this will be delicious. And then I have some, you could use champagne, you could use sparkling wine. I like Prosecco, so I'm gonna do Prosecco. And then there we go. So what I do is I like to put a little bit of orange juice there. It's probably about half orange juice, maybe a little over half, because I'm not doing this to the top, because that goes into danger zone. And then we're going to add a little Prosecco to it. And it's always good to just, turn, be by a sink in case it goes over. Whoop! That's a lovely sound, is that not? And then top it off. There we go. And it's bubbly, it's yummy. Let me just top this off so it doesn't lose its bubbles. This was actually from a limoncello that I like, Pellini. And when we bought the larger one, it fits as a great stopper for like champagne or Prosecco. All right. So let's taste it, because we should taste it, right? Cheers. Does not disappoint. This is always welcome on the brunch table. So I have my mimosa. Now let's get the rest of the players out so we can try things. Let me see, get this put away. All right, so we have our strata. Our beautiful strata here. We're gonna toss our salad. Let me get a plate. All right. Let me see. I'll have to see if Hubs is able to taste or not. Let me see if I can get him out to do that. So with these lettuces, you really don't want to overdress it. So I find I get too heavy-handed when I'm just pouring from this. So I'm just gonna pour some of this on here and just drizzle around the edges. I just don't want to overdress this, because I want it to be a super light dressing. Okay, I think this might be enough. A little goes a long way, especially with a spring mix, because they're such tender, light lettuce that it clings, and it can really make it heavy if you add too much dressing. So oh my gosh, that strata smells so good. I've got the strata right here, and I've got the strata smell coming from the oven. I'm in strata heaven. And again, what's so cool about it is you can absolutely mix this up with different proteins, different flavors of cheeses, different kinds of bread. You can put a sourdough in there. Oh, this salad looks amazing. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of lettuce here. Do you want to grab a fork or 2 forks, babe? Okay. Got my salad, and then I'm going to cut. Now, usually this is in a rectangular pan. I don't have 2 square shaped pans, so that's why I put this like this. So I'm just going to actually cut it straight down. And of course, this is a great handy spatula, especially for getting something out for the first time. It's also great for getting brownies out too. So we've not had this in a long time.
I know.
It has been very long. I feel like I just need to taste that edge. Oh. Oh my God.
Looks good.
Mm-hmm. Let me show my friends. Oh my goodness. So here you can see the layer there. You see the meat.
Yep, you can
and
see
the
it there.
cheeses. And I just want to, actually this isn't that hot anymore. So you can kind of see, can you see in there? Is it showing the layers?
Yeah,
okay.
You can see.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's give this a go. Let's give it a whirl. There you go.
I'm still kind of getting over being sick.
So he sounds horrible, but he is feeling better. It's just, it has been a ride for you.
10, 11 days, so.
Absolutely. So I'm going to take the money bite if I could.
Yep. Oh my gosh. I'll just take one bite. Oh, wow.
Doesn't, I mean, just, so when he just cut it, you heard like the crackle of the top, but then the softness of the middle.
I want to miss that.
You got it. Get it. Make sure you get that.
All right, here we go.
Oh my God.
It's been a long time. That's really good.
That is really good. It has been a long time. It's like an old friend. You know, we have not, I mean, I made it a lot in the 2000s. I don't know why we stopped.
That is so
let me do.
Such a great memory.
So you want to get a new fork and try the salad dressing?
It's okay.
Okay, going in for the salad dressing. Mmm.
Good?
Pick a piece of lettuce. Just light. Isn't that good? I'm telling you that.
Salad dressing?
It's champagne vinegar, lemon juice, a little bit of garlic, dijon.
I'm going to taste the lemon.
Honey, and just a dash of hot sauce. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Salt, pepper, olive oil. Yep. Excellent. Delicious. So good. Oh my goodness. So please let me know if you try this, and let me know what the different combinations that you try down below. You can comment, you can share, so we can share with our community the different ways we try it. And coming up, I did want to let you know, coming up, Fo, it's so good to see you, or to see your name come up. I know you watch, but I'm just tickled that you're watching right now. It is so good. You've got to try this. And I'm going to take a picture. I think I'm a little late for your postings of our, kind of like an egg dish with vegetables. But I'm going to get it on there. So we have company coming in just a minute, so it's going to be a little late, but I'll get that picture up. And I saw that you had a picture, by the way, of what are you drinking. So we're drinking mimosas this morning, sweetie. And they are delicious. So coming up this week, I know, I'll send it to Orlando. I'm going to ship it right now, Maya. Shipping it right now your way. So coming up this week, I just dropped my new schedule. So that is on Twitter right now. And I also put it on my YouTube page in case you're not following me on Twitter. If you go to About, I always update my schedule there. But coming up this week on Wednesday, actually, I'm sorry, not Wednesday, on Thursday. I hope I did that, because it is going to be Thursday this week, because I have something going on with girlfriends on Wednesday. It's going to be a Weeknight Wonders or Weeknight Warriors meal. So a great weeknight meal. It is chicken Parmesan burgers. I made this as a mama with my family because it was a great pleaser. Great, especially in the like cooler months, but it's great anytime. And it's super quick, fast, easy, delicious. And then next weekend on Sunday, making one of my favorite things that I've never done before. It's a dish that we've not only had at Nobu 57, which is one of our favorite splurge places in New York City, but also when we went to JG Sky High here in the city, they had it there, and they're having it at more places. So I want to make sure and try it myself. And we are making crispy rice with spicy tuna. You do not want to miss that. It is going to be amazing, and hopefully I can do it. So I need you all, your positive vibes behind me, and help me do this, because I'm not a big deep fryer person. Like, I love eating it, but not necessarily, I feel intimidated making it. And you basically fry these little cubes of sushi rice, and then you put this delicious sushi, spicy sushi on top of it. So that is what we're making next Sunday. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Fo. I hope I'm saying your name right. And also Maya, I just thank you so much for joining, and everyone out there, thank you so much for supporting my channel. Please like and subscribe, and let me know what you think of my November schedule. What do you like? What's missing? Because that helps impact what is on my December schedule. So happy Sunday. Have a great week, friends. And until we eat again, see you later.